I love you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Doesn't matter which order you put those in. The message gets through and you decide, which do you want to say first? Sometimes we want to say, I love you. Sometimes we want to say, I'm sorry first, quickly, right? It doesn't matter. So good morning. And thank you all for being here. And thank you for the ways in which you're already here in service by being present, by bringing you, the human personalness of you, into this space. So thank you for that. Today, I'm really struck by something that I've been wanting to talk about, and I've been sort of spinning around it. And it's this idea that we used to be governed by rules from the outside of us. We used to be a society that had so many rules on the outside of us, and religiously, we used to do that too, right? We couldn't practice our own spirituality. We had to actually hear from someone else which was the right way to do that, and how to do it, and when to do it, and where to do it. But now we have all this freedom. We have all these choices. But yet, what are the natural rules? What are the natural ways that we come together, which might sound more like integrity and sustainability? So in the past, whenever we came into relationship with people, we would always be, in some ways, and I'm going to call this the older way of doing things versus the newer way, right? So we're doing both because we're still learning all of it. But you can tell by the change, and we'll just talk about marriage for a second. Many of you, maybe like me, have had more than one marriage, and we have learned some pretty intense lessons. Now, before probably 1950, late 50s, probably most people lived by the rules in their marriages. Most people lived by, you come here, you do this thing, you play your role, and you stay here. You have kids and you stay here forever. Whether it was good for you or bad for you, that's what was happening. Now, what are our choices now? You see that since that time, we've made different choices. We've started wondering, how am I doing here? What's going on for me? What do I need? Maybe I don't need to stay in this thing that isn't working for me. So we've had this sort of revolution of relationship where people are saying, like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Or I don't want to do this anymore. Or I'm over it. I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. And what we've done is kind of classic human behavior, which is we choose the opposite. We leave. Stay and leave. Those are only two choices we give ourselves, right? And so when we're in this sort of classic human space, which is all too natural and growing forward in an evolutionary process, we start to see that we have other choices. We don't have to just stay or go. There's something else. And through this last, what was the 1950s, like 1,000 years ago? Probably at least 70. Probably since then, we've started to develop some different ways of being in relationship. And what this is all about is different ways of being in love. Because we used to think that we couldn't love you anymore if we left our marriage. We used to think that we had to have a fight and break it up and create some real painful stuff, right? Anybody been party to something like that? I got my hand up, right? Come on, raise your hands if you did it. Come on. Okay. And some of us are still participating in it, and I didn't put my hand down yet, right? So when we're developing new ways of loving, we have to learn them, but not only mentally, our whole nervous system has to learn a whole new way of how can you love someone and say no thank you at the same time? How can you be in relationship and not be at the same time? How can we be in love and not at the same, and not in like at the same time? Maybe that's the word, right? So I feel like we've been navigating like a century of this, because the divorce rate sort of rocketed to about 50%. And then it kind of stayed there. That's curious. But then if you do it again, your chances of success are worse. And if you do it again, they're worse, which means if you leave, you don't actually learn. It doesn't mean no one does, because now 62% of the people don't make it. So 40% learn something, right? So I'm looking at this in my own life, right? It's like, oh, I just got married again. And this period of time is all about being in love with both yourself and your partner, instead of pushing all that love out this direction. So if you're a woman, or you're in a more feminine mode in your life, you will overdo your loving by instinct. You will overcare for people. You will give too much. You will nurture too much. You will forget all the other beautiful things about you that the other person loved about you. And you may even step into the role as their mother. Oh, God forbid. Anyone? Or if you happen to be in the masculine role, you may overdo your working hard, or your providing, or your linear ways of behaving, or your distancing, and you may do a lot of other behaviors that don't work. And what we end up with is this pulling, teasing, fighting thing in the middle, because neither one of us are making sure that our needs are met first, and then we can proceed with the other. So love is a self-sustaining system that, unless we learn the rules of the universe, just like they show up in our congregation, in our lives, in our marriages, and in nature, we will get kicked out, right? Play fair or see ya. So my son went to a preschool that had this kind of a setup where there were no rules per se, and it freaked so many parents out. But the thing we had was a 2-to-1 parent to child ratio. When something started to happen, we were there. We held them, we took care of them, we made sure, but what we gave them was their voice. And kids know what they need. Make no mistake, they know what they need. 3-year-olds can tell you what they need. I need that truck, but I was playing with it. I need it now, but it was my turn. And the back and forth. Now, as long as no grown-up decides they know the answer, the kids are magnificent at sorting this out. I saw it time and time again. You would not believe it. I wish I had a video camera back then that was like on my phone that I could have done this. Because what the exquisite nature of this interaction, as long as grown-up humans are keeping bodies safe, because children don't know that hitting hurts and those kinds of things, neither do we sometimes. But when we can keep their bodies safe and the truck safe, we could have these conversations, right? With 3-year-olds. Serious. So now we have generations that are starting to learn this as they come up. And we have to see if we're recovering. Are we recovering? Can we learn that to be in love is a responsibility? To be in love with the earth and with nature, to live a life with that is a responsibility, not a burden. It's a massive that it tells us what it needs and we respond, and we tell it what we need and it responds. It's symbiotic, it's integrous, it's sustainable. And now we're learning this about our relationships. We can have a marriage that works for a time and a reason and a space that suddenly won't work anymore in the physical realm. So for instance, I had a friend whose husband decided to do a ton of meditating. And he really sort of came out of his body, and he decided that he didn't really have much interest in the physical human world, providing, sexual relationship, all those things just kind of dissipated. He was really like, I really want to go sit on top of the mountain. She loved him. She didn't want to break up her family, but this wasn't really working for her. So through a process of loving each other and respecting and honoring each other, this great new thought showed up of how they could be together. They kept their family intact, and she had a whole small life all to herself on the side that provided the things that she needed. And then eventually that stopped working and they did it again. You see, because the form of your love doesn't matter. Your love matters. One of my friends, quite surprisingly on Facebook the other day, who's 46 years old, came out as lesbian, right? Just directly out on Facebook the other day. And it was such a beautiful conversation because she had never been a lesbian in her life. She dated many men. She hadn't settled into a partnership. But what she said was, all I know is this is love, and it's with a woman. I don't have anything else to tell you about it. Isn't that the most beautiful way for us to hold love with each other? All I know is this is love, and I want to be here. Can we support that? Can we love each other from a place of this is love? It doesn't mean it supports us in our life. It doesn't mean it's the kind of thing that we want to live with forever. It does mean that we are at choice. What's interesting about human beings in relationships, which I'm distinguishing from partnerships now as partnership being an easier way to be in love. What's interesting about relationships is that often we're using our sort of more egoic relational systems that are kind of demanding and frustrated and overgiving and undergiving and doing all those things and becoming power struggles. That's how we use relationship. But when we think of it as love, and we think of this person that we love, and then we start to wonder, what do they need? So I started thinking about us in this congregation. I started thinking about, what do we need to be in love with each other, to create a community of love? How do we find our way? How do we ask each other, what do you need? What do you need? How do we widen the field and expand it? How do we find out who we are in this community? How do we find out what we want from this community? What makes it worthwhile for you, who I'm so grateful for, showing up on Sundays? Why is that good for you? And what do you get? And what do you need? Are you getting what you need? Are you going home feeling like, I wish I would have had a one-on-one prayer, but nobody was offering that today? Are you asking us for what you need? So I'm circling back because I left out a comment I was making before, which is the funny thing about relationship is that most often the first thing we do is forget our needs. Have you ever had that experience? We're going to just call it romantic relationship and come away from the community so it's more clear. But romantic relationship, have you ever been like, I'm so in love, I don't need anything. I could go without sleep and food and water and anything. I'm just so in love, right? Anybody? Come on. I only got 2 hands on that one. Okay. Some of you I know better, so I'm just going to stare at you. Okay, right? So we show up as no needs. And then this other person goes, fantastic, no needs, cool. And we fall in love. And then all hell breaks loose. Because we wake up one day and we need something. We're hungry. Bad one, right? We're hungry. We're tired. We're resentful because we didn't stop when we needed to stop. All those things, right? And it seems like it just came out of the clear blue sky. And what do we call that? The end of the honeymoon, right? Bam, the door slams. He was so great before. Now he's so... One of my teachers, Alison Armstrong, talks about this as turning princes into frogs. That's us, girls. Wake up. We do that. But they also turn us into, shall we say it? Bitches. Shall we? That's just the word. How do we do that to each other is we lose our way in taking care of ourselves. And then we turn on each other because it must be coming from you. It didn't ever come from me because I was just wandering around in a needless world of joy and love and laughter. And you messed this whole thing up. Has anybody ever blamed anyone in your life for messing anything up? All the hands waving, right? Come on. I like it. Jazz hands, everyone. Come on. Yes. So blame is kill. Blame is kill and be killed, right? Guilt, blame, shame. So what if we came to each other? Oh, here's another really nice thing that resentment does. I'm sorry. This is what resentment does. Resentment makes me think that you owe me. Oh, I did all this stuff for you. Right? How many parents? Oh gosh, am I going to make you raise your hands again? How many parents have ever said to your kids, after all I have done for you? They're like, spare me. Thanks. We do this all the time because it's the only way we can think of. And it does make sense to us that we did all that stuff, but it's from the past. It's from the past. What we're wanting to call you into is the future. In relationship, we want you to be you. And we're going to call it partnership because it's easier to discern that way. In partnership, we want you to be the best, most loving, beautiful person that you can, that fell in love and that was in love. And how do we get there? How do we sustain things? How do we sustain our relationship with nature? How do we sustain our partnerships? We sustain them by going this direction first and sharing what we need. I need sleep. I need food. I need love. I need care. I need a day when no one talks to me. I need it. What is it for you? Let yourself think. What's a need you've been going without? Just let yourself think about that. If you want to, you can shout it out. What's a need you've been going without? All right, never mind. I won't make you admit that. It's okay. It's tender, right? It's tender. When we go without a need, it always looks like it's not being provided by someone else. But the thing about partnership, the thing about stepping in with each other is that we love each other. And so when someone has a need, we want to provide it. Our hearts reach out and say, yes, what can I do for you? Until we need to stop doing that because it's taking something from us. And then we have a need. And then we ask for ours. And it's a back and forth. And it becomes a dance, a symmetry. And what we say is a sustainable, integrous environment where love survives. Where love is in its integrity, just the way you see it outside today on this amazing, glorious day, right? Within us are all the same systems because we are of the universe that is a self-sustaining love system. And so as you open your arms and say to the universe, I am allowed to ask for what I need from this great and glorious light and love. I step outside and I'm filled with light. I need that. What do you need? What do you ask of the universe? This is a massive system of love that has everything that you are made of. Do you ask? Do you bless yourself? Do you bring it in? Do you let yourself be showered with this gorgeous flow that love gives? And do you give back by treasuring and putting yourself in the field of love so you may spread that and be a beneficial presence to everyone you know? Because you are sustained. We say all the time, we are one with the power and the glory in the field of love. Everything that is an attribute of this system is here. I just have to remember to look for it and bring it forward so it fulfills for me my abundance, my grace. I will need to listen. The universe needs us to listen. So that's how we reciprocate. We give, we receive, we give, we receive. And then sometimes there's a certain particular spot in the universe where we're going to step aside because it no longer does feed us. So a relationship we can step aside from if it doesn't feed us. We can step aside from a congregation if it doesn't feed us. We can step aside from anything because, as the reading said, we can let it go and we can be free. But what we also want to do is check out where our love is. And if our love is there, we want to be free in our loving. We want to be free to give and free to receive. We want to be able to say, I need something from you. So for the longest time, we've been saying to our members, and I just read it this week and it caught my eye, we don't need anything from you. Just sign up. You can just be a member. It's actually probably not totally true. What do you think? Do we need something from you as a congregation? Yes, we are a community. We are creating a community. So what we need from our community is what our community needs. And then we can provide what the community needs. And then the community can provide also. So it's this sustainable give and take. Well, what are we doing but mirroring that which we say we are, which is love? We're mirroring the sustainability of the natural world, the sustainability of our personal partnerships in partnership with our community. So we can discern for ourselves, is this something I love enough to tell it my needs and to be received, and then to receive and give back in the infinite give and take of love? And so breathe right now in and take in for you what you need. This is my need. And now give. And as we do that, as we do this, it's a grand dance. It's an opening for us to receive that which others need. What do they need from us? We join in a community like this, I can guarantee you that half of you at least need a hug. That's an incredible thing to get. You can't just walk down the street and randomly hug people, especially since COVID. People are freaking out about that, right? But we need to be touched. It's a human need. So when I was single, that was a much bigger thing, harder thing to come by, but I made it my priority. But sometimes I didn't notice that other people have a need not to be touched. Sometimes, not all the time. I don't need to judge their thing. So if we can accept each other for who we are and find those that match with us, that fulfill our needs and that we fulfill theirs, we have the blossoming of the most beautiful creation, because it is full of creation. It is full of love. And as I look around this room, so many of you, every one of you, are giving. And yet, have you received what you need? We have one of our major supporters, Jane Hobson, right, who sets us up, tears us down almost every Sunday, and is on our board and our bylaws committee. And where is she today? She's homesick. Did we ask too much of her as a community? Maybe. Maybe she was doing that thing where she loves us so much that she gave so much to us. And Jana, if you're watching, I hope you don't mind me using you as an example, right? Because what I want to say to this community is, I love you so much. I don't want this to happen again. I don't want this to happen to her. So where is my love? Where do I step in? Because I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So as a community, what we're doing now is building. We're building ourselves. We're recovering from COVID, right? We're like, oh, we could come on Zoom. We can come in person. We can do whatever we need to do. The community still needs. We used to be governed by rules. Practitioners had like, this is how many hours you need to show up for these people. And you got to do this and you got to do that. We don't have those rules anymore. So people are showing up because they want to. And they're showing up how they can. And they're showing up when they can. And sometimes it means we might need a few more people to do this. So what I'm inviting all of us to be aware of is, are you in a love relationship with everything in your life where your needs come first so that you are whole? You remember how we say you always give from your overflow? So you are whole. You go out and get that hug you need. You come to church. You give your friends a hug, or you say, I need someone to go to lunch with this week. And I need you. And if you can, you say yes because you want to, because you love them, not because you have to and you should because they did something for you. What we're providing for each other is who we can be in the future. How cool is that? I'm not asking you to ever do anything in your partnerships with anyone that is not true for you, is not what you want to do, and does not come from love. What I'm suggesting is we might notice that there are ways in which none of us are actually receiving what we need and ways in which we're not giving what is needed. And it often just comes from blind spots and not knowing and not understanding. And in this community, there are plenty of people who are giving a lot. And coming on Zoom is giving a lot. Everyone is respected and accepted for giving a lot. And if you love what you have, you give what it needs. And this is the conversation that we begin with ourselves. Do you give yourself what you need so you can stay in love with yourself? So that you can walk around the world as this beneficial, gorgeous presence that you are. No excuses. You just are you in the most awesomely fulfilled way that you could be you. Do you let yourself take care of yourself first? And then from your overflow, do you go looking for where you want to give your love? And do you find your way into that love? And then do you ask people what they need? And then do you give them what they need? These are all powerful, exciting, beautiful ways to live, because what you get and what they get is freedom. Everyone's telling the truth, and there's freedom. No one owes anybody. There's no shoulds, right? You're not shamed into this. You're not doing it because they owe you. You're not doing it there's no sticky substance here. And if you're looking to be reminded, you just look outside and see how it works out there. And then bring that in. If I love myself enough to honor my needs, listen to myself, honor, value, and empower, that spells LOVE. Get my needs met. This does not mean outside of each other. It means with. And then off we go, bringing it back in and out of the infinity system, you and I, right? The words through Jesus of the Christ consciousness that say, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself, but you can't do it with the whole airplane mask thing until you are whole inside. So give what you love to yourself and then give out from yourself to what you love in order to have it grow in your life. So as we talk to the flowers and as we water the flowers, whether it's the universal rain or our own backyard, they grow. As we water our friendships and our community and our colleagues, they grow. So we invite everyone to consider this whole new way of partnership. When I joined this community, what I said is, last time I did this, I quit because I forgot me. I forgot me. And I gave and I gave, and I also had small children and a marriage at the time. And I gave and I gave and I gave, and I collapsed. And truthfully, since we're sharing with each other intimately, because we are that kind of community, last night I collapsed. This is my work to not overgive. This is my work. It is no one out there doing that. This is my lesson to see this. And this is what showed up this morning to talk to you. because I love you and I want to hang out with you all the time. And I want to go to lunch and I want to go to dinner and I want to go to this and I want to, and next thing you know, I haven't been home. In here, like come in the door and get up and go. So I feel rejuvenated this morning because I recognize that I didn't have to crash my whole ministry, which I had to do 10 years ago. I just got to crash for one night and really say, oh, I am not doing a good job here. So I love this community. I love all of you, and I love what we're creating together. I love the beauty of what we're bringing. And I love how many of you I feel in this conversation. So let's keep talking. Let's keep this openness. Let's keep this intimacy real with each other. And let's make sure the needs are being met around us, through us, as us. It doesn't have to be hard or strenuous. It's just what is. It is true of a system of love that always works to sustain itself. And you are integral to that system. You are not outside it. You do not deserve more. You do not deserve less. You do not deserve a pedestal. You do not deserve to be knocked off it. We are one. So breathe this into who you are right now and check out what you have given. And if there are any ministers or practitioners in the room that have given more than they have to give, also I invite you to wander into this space. How do we create a community without letting that take us over? What a curious opportunity. What a great way for us all to learn to be in our lives as love, supporting that which we love, giving and receiving in the most graceful dance of the breath. And so let us breathe together. Remember how easy it is to nurture yourself first and then to nurture with your out breath, in and out, in the direction of you, what your heart calls you, what you love, where you are, who you are, and learn all the lessons along the way. This will give us the future selves, our whole selves. This will give us our future in every moment as we step into the full velocity and power of love in our lives. Let us pray. Let us all remember the beautiful, holy blessing of love that is surrounding and enfolding us always. This field that we refer to as the one we are the one with. We're not connected, we're one. We lean in, we lean out. It's all the same thing. As I give, I receive. As I receive, I give. And sometimes I need to receive and sometimes I need to give. But it is still one. And in this oneness, I am also truly, wholly human and divine. I am here in this beautiful, powerful, strong body, touching this earth right now, living the God that I am, the divine beingness, the holy, intimate infrastructure of all things. I am living that as I remember to breathe in and fill myself with love, power, opportunity, creativity, grace. And I know what I need when I need it. And fill again. And once again, ready to give. This is the beauty of life. All ways, all days, all times, all nature that we are. We are one. This CCL community is growing and we're finding our way and we're flowing and we're bumping and we're laughing and we're teetering on the edge of extinction, and then we come back and then we don't know, but we are love. Will we learn how to love? This is the grand experiment that you are invited into at this moment. We bless this community knowing that it is none other than the outpicturing of that which Spirit is holding in its mind as the creation that it wants it to be, center for conscious living, right here in Morristown, New Jersey. Let us rejoice and have fun in the fact that we are here learning and we are bumping up against it as we learn. Perfection is not human. Perfection is divine. In our humanness, we are foibles. We have missteps. We have forgiveness to make it all better again. We accept that we are human and we accept our divinity. In the holiness, we bring those hands together. We place them on our hearts. And we acknowledge the truth that we are all love. All blameless, shameless, wholehearted in the one. And so it is.